Very good evening to everyone who's watching this right now, and welcome to another live session. If you can see this here, uh, please drop a comment that you are live and you're listening to us right now, so I would know that there is no issue with the audio or the video. Also, this is a live session, so if you have any questions or any comments, you can always drop it in the chat, and we'll definitely get back to you. All right. So after that brief introduction, let me tell you a little bit more about today's live. As a freelancer, we have so many questions. What is TDS? How do I file my income tax return if I have income from other countries? How do I get back the amount that I lost in TDS? And so many other questions that freelancers might have. Tax planning as a in general is not easy for freelancers, especially with so few resources online to guide us. And over time, as I have worked myself with clients, I have faced so many issues, and there has only been one person who has helped me with this, and that is my CA Aditya Mundada. And I'm very happy to bring him here on this show as a guest to discuss tax planning for freelancers and also answer all these burning questions which Indian freelancers might have. So, stay tuned because we are going to cover lots of value in today's session. And if you have any questions, as I mentioned before, please do drop them in the chat. So, we'll be happy to take them for you. All right. So, without further delay, let's welcome Aditya to the show. Hi, Aditya.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here on this show today. I am very excited for this session. Before we start, could you please give us a small introduction of yourself?
Hello, everyone. As introduced earlier by Anaksha, I'm a practicing chartered accountant since 2016 and a certified fraud examiner. I've completed my BCom from Symbiosis Pune and a financial leadership course from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. My specialization is financial forensics and startup MSME advisory.
All right, thank you so much, Aditya, for the introduction. So let's start with today's session. I have a lot of questions for you, so I hope you're ready. The first question is, what are some prerequisites for being a freelancer? Like, what basic things should a person have? Can you please throw some light on that for us?
Anaksha, basically, the person should have a very basic prerequisite. Another is if the person has export of services. For example, in your case, you write for companies in USA. Okay, so that is basically export of services, where GST registration is compulsory, irrespective of the amount you earn. Okay, then another thing is a current account would be very anytime beneficial to have it, considering the amount you get from outside parties, and the forex an import export code, which is basically a certificate through which you can also claim export benefits in future later on. These are the basic prerequisites for any freelancers, for any freelancer actually.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when I was doing my when I was setting up everything, you were a big help in getting the import export code and in getting the GST registered. So thanks a ton for that, Aditya. All right. The next question is, what are some things that people in India need to keep in mind while accepting international payments, which is in a different currency, maybe not in INR? So, what should people keep in mind before doing that?
As I said earlier, people generally freelancers don't take GST registration before export of services. Okay, so basically, if you write for a platform like Medium, you get money from outside India. So technically, that comes as an export of services, under which GST registration and filing is compulsory. Though there is no requirement of paying GST, because it being an export of services, and if you take LUT, letter of undertaking, every time, okay, then it becomes very easy it will be considered as a zero rated tax, zero rated supply. That is, typically you don't pay any GST on that. So while accepting payments, one should necessarily think on GST registration beforehand, LUT as a safer side, so that they don't have to pay any tax. Because if you don't have LUT and if you do export, then it will be considered as taxable service, and by rule you are required to pay 18% GST on that. Okay, so many people don't opt for these two things. That's the reason it's quite possible that later on, now or later on, they'll be required, once they come under the radar, they'll be required to pay penalties, interest, and other charges, whatever they are levied by the government of India.
Okay, yeah, this is actually a major question. So many people have asked me as well when they tell me that they are earning money from people in the US. Should they have GST registered or not? Should they have IC or not? These are so many common confusions that people have. And the people who are watching right now, if you have faced these similar questions and if you have any specific queries, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'm sure Aditya will be happy to answer them for you as well. Uh, Aditya, my next question to you is, when I write for Medium, right, the first thing that came to my mind while signing up the contract and while setting up the partner program thing, there was this thing called DTA, Double Tax Avoidance Agreement. So can you throw some light on what is DTA and what do people need to know about it?
In general sense, DTA, what we call as, basically it's a double taxation avoidance agreement. It's basically an agreement between two countries that if you deduct TDS for a certain payment to be made to USA, okay, there are laws where you are required to deduct TDS. Okay, so you can take the benefit of DTA, and accordingly, the other person can take the benefit of tax deducted in India. So basically, in your case, when Medium deducts TDS at 15%, we take the benefit of that tax deducted in while filing your ITR, that is Indian tax return as well. So this is how the DTA works. Whatever tax is deducted by the companies you work for, you can take the same benefit in Indian tax return. However, you are required to file a certain form before ITR. Then it can work with for you very well.
Right. So what exactly is that form and where do people find it?
Um, Generally, you can find the same online. Like, it's basically, and it's you can get it from the income tax portal itself. While filing the form, it is basically form 67, which has to be filed before ITR. Okay, but now presently there is a recent amendment in which you can file the form later as well and get the benefits. But the only thing is your ITR has to be filed within due time. Otherwise,
Right.
it becomes a very tedious task to get the same benefit later on.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Aditya, for clarifying that. So my next question is about TDS. So when I myself have worked with freelancers and when I cleared a invoice for them, many people often ask that why did you pay me less? You should have paid me this much. Whereas that amount is actually TDS. And before I set up a company, even I didn't know about TDS. And when I worked with clients, I was always shocked. Why did people cut TDS? Where did that money go? Is there any way I can get it back? So could you throw some light on what exactly is TDS? What percentage does a freelancer have to deduct from their income? And is there any way that they can get it back?
See, a TDS deduction while making a payment depends on lots of circumstances and conditions. In your case, it's a private limited company. So that's the reason you are required to deduct TDS for any professional you are paying more than 30,000 a year. So if you are paying me 60,000 fees, then you are required to deduct 10% TDS, which is happening in your case as well. Okay. Now the thing is, whenever a person deducts your TDS, you can say that it's more like a boom. it's more like a good thing because it gets deducted from your advance tax, due to which you are able to save interest under section 234B and C as well, if your tax liability is more. Okay, and plus another thing is that you can claim it while filing your return. See, yeah, typically you can take benefit of each and every penny whatever gets deducted. So it can be TDS, it can be TDS by Indian companies or Indian businesses, TDS deducted by businesses outside India through DTA as well. So typically you can say that you can get benefit of each and every tax you have paid as an income tax or TDS in simple language.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense actually because you yourself have helped me take advantage of so many times the TDS was deducted from my invoice that I had sent. So I would say that in these cases, if you don't know that much about TDS or how to get it back, and if you fall in the high tax slab tax bracket, then it's always better to have a CA who can help you make these calculations, right? Do you agree with that, Aditya?
Yes, certainly, because see, as I always say, you are an expert in content writing. That is not something I can do. Okay, so every person has their own expertise. If the volume is good and it doesn't make sense to lose money, okay, so rather than that, it's better to hire someone whom you know or through any personal references who can save your tax or maybe save you from the penalties or help you in the financial planning as well, because typically there can be lots of strategic financing and other things as well which can be done by any good CA or any consultant.
Right, right. That's so true. So, Aditya, now let's come to the question, which is also the topic for today's talk, and it's tax planning for freelancers. So, can you please tell us a little bit more about all the things that freelancers need to keep in mind while planning their taxes, any nitty-gritties, any details?
Now, typically freelancers, I'll say from the point of content writers or maybe cyber security professionals or IT professionals. Uh, Generally, people tend to use 44AD. That is, they generally take 6% of the total income and file the return, which is a wrong thing. Okay. And even it has been said by few famous financial advisors, influence like 6%, whereas professional comes under 44 ADA. That is, you have to show 50, you have to show minimum 50% of the total income earned. Okay, minimum. Otherwise, you have to get yourself audited. Okay, so typically, if your receipt is 15 lakh rupees, okay, you can take the benefit of 44 ADA. If your income is more, then it's better to show that. Yeah. But if your income is less than 50%, like example 40%, you have to show minimum 50% and take the benefit of that. However, if the amount is higher, then it will be better to do cost benefit analysis, or then set up a company or a OPC or maybe an LLP through which you can do proper tax planning.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Aditya, when I shared about this interview that I was having with you, when I shared about it on Instagram, one person asked me this question that what is the point? Because that person is a friend of mine as well, and she knows that I have a company registered. So the question she asked was, what is the point when one should think of setting up a company? Because there are a lot of costs involved as well, right? When a company is set up, so, according to you, when should one actually think of setting up a company, and until when it is okay to keep receiving amounts in your personal or your savings account?
See, that depends on what is the volume of income you are earning. Okay, now, and what kind of compliant you can be, because having a company requires compliances. Okay, you have to be compliant. For example, every month, my people from email you to give something, to give the invoices and other things. So first of all, if you are
Right.
forming a company, you should be able to be compliant, otherwise you will end up paying penalties, and CA fees only and nothing else. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand that. And second thing is, see, every individual can have a different tax planning. Okay, for example, if someone is having a OPC, okay, and that person is the only director in the company, net profit of the company comes before salary to the director comes around 9 lakh rupees. Okay, and if the person takes a salary of 9 lakh rupees, then the tax paid by them can be zero as well. So there are lots of ifs and buts, and it has to be seen individually. But yeah, if you plan to have an investor later on, then it is anytime better to have a company or an LLP since early stage at least.
Right. Yeah, that helps, and I hope this answers other question to the person who asked. Uh, so Aditya, that brings us to the end of this session. I'd like to thank you for being so candid and being so helpful with your answers. I know you are so busy, so thank you for taking out time as well. Before we conclude, would you like to say any final message or any closing thoughts to everyone who's listening today?
The only closing thought I feel that it's like you are not required to be worried so much about doing taxes or doing finance. Okay, you can hire someone just the way someone hires you to do their work. Okay, so hire anyone, any good person or any experienced professional or maybe through references, but hire so that you are not required to be worried about each and everything. I will have to do IEC, I will have to do GST, I will have to do income tax as well, and end up paying penalties and again paying wrong filings by doing wrong filings and other things. So it's better to hire someone whom you know or maybe through references at least.
Yes, that makes sense. And whenever someone asks me for reference, I always refer Aditya because I've known Aditya for so long and he has helped me right from the days when I was working in a job to when I was setting a company to now. So, yes, highly recommended for sure. And to everyone who's watching right now, I'm going to leave Aditya's LinkedIn profile link in the comments so you can hit him up. Or if you need any reference or if you have any questions, you can ask me as well. I always recommend Aditya to everyone I know. In fact, all of my friends have the same CA, and it is that is like that's how it works. Like because you cannot trust anyone to be a CA, so you really need to trust somebody before you know. And thankfully, I've known Aditya since 2016, I guess. So I always recommend you without any further thoughts. All right. So thank you so much, Aditya, for being here today, and
Sure.
thank you for answering all our questions.
No, thanks a lot, Anaksha, for calling me on the for the interview thing as well. Thanks a lot, and you have been always supportive as a client. Like my office always tells me
Happy to
that
hear that.
Anaksha madam is one of the best clients we have.
Happy to hear that. I try to be compliant, the word that you used.
Yeah.
All right, Aditya. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
So that brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you so much, people, for watching until here. There weren't many questions. I understand that these kind of topics can be little hard to understand right at the moment you hear them. Even I personally don't understand every single term that Aditya uses, but it has like it's like it's something that you learn on the go because I have been doing this. I've been self-employed for more than a year now, and even before that, I had some freelance income on the side. So it's not something. I know it sounds very scary and very intimidating, the whole tax planning and income tax return filing thing for freelancers. But having a good CA can definitely help. And if you don't, there are so many other websites online and so many other resources that can help you as well. But if you find this intimidating, I would always suggest getting the help of an expert because that way you don't have to take any extra stress. All right. So thank you so much for watching until the end. If you have any more questions, you can always let me know in the comments. I'll be back again next week with another awesome guest and another awesome topic. Stay tuned and I'll see you soon. Bye and